Good afternoon, Senator Burgin. I am so happy that you took time out of your busy schedule to share with us today just for a fireside chat about the state Senate and all the things that you do. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Margaret, it's a pleasure to be with you. It's always good to see you. And I'm Jim Burgin. I'm in the Senate District 12. I represent Harnett, Lee, and part of Sampson County. It's been just a pleasure. I'm finishing my third term, so 6 years. Hopefully, after next Tuesday, I'll be going back for my fourth term. I'm chair of Healthcare and Healthcare Appropriations, and so everything healthcare I'm involved in. Also, I serve on energy, ag, finance, and just a number of committees. But healthcare and mental health is really my passion right now.
Two good ones.
Thank you.
So, have you basically served on those two since you've been in the legislature?
Oh no, ma'am. If you're in the legislature, you get. I've been on transportation. I've been on local government. I've been on the special select committee on corrections and prisons. You get assigned to a lot of different things, but I got some real good advice from a lot of the council of state. I did something real unique. Right after I got elected the first time, I sat down and interviewed all 10 council of state members and all 10 members of the cabinet, plus the head of highway patrol and the head of the DMV.
That was a good way to find it out.
It really was, and to make personal relationships, which I think are so important. So I asked each of them for 30 minutes. Some of them gave me, Governor Cooper gave me 35 minutes, and it was a great visit. But some of the visits lasted 2.5 hours. And I still have maintained those relationships, still have all their cell phone numbers, still can contact them. And I would encourage anybody getting into politics is to develop close personal relationships.
Not just politics, you've got to have it in life also.
I agree, but in politics, there's so much division and so much name calling and attacking, and it's hard to call somebody a name or attack them if you know them personally and have a relationship with them.
Now, what were you doing before you got into politics?
I was doing what I'm still doing. I work. I own C&D Insurance, and we represent tons of insurance companies and sell insurance over multiple states. I'm also partners in John Heister Automotive. We have a number of dealerships, one right here in Sanford, a Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealership, and I also am involved in a lot of real estate. I own a lot of commercial properties and raw land and develop that.
And do you have grandchildren?
I am blessed. My wife Ann and I have been married for 44 years. We have 3 adult millennials.
You lucky man.
2 of our oldest 2 daughters are both married. One of them has our 4 grandchildren, and they're more fun than our children were. And I tell my children that a lot.
I'm sure of that. I haven't had the privilege of having grandchildren, but I do have 2 grandcats.
Well, good.
Chloe and Sam, and so they act a lot like children too. But at least I can leave them alone when
I'm sure they love you and seek your attention.
Well, I love them too. So, what would you tell a person who was thinking of getting involved in politics, and they might say, "I don't think I want to be a legislator. I want to be a senator." What would you tell a person?
I think the smartest thing I did was become a county commissioner. I was a county commissioner in Harnett County for 8 years, and I think that prepared me to go to Raleigh. I look at some of my peers that have come in that went straight into the House or Senate, and there's so many things they don't know, and it's not because they can't learn it, it's because they haven't experienced. Because of the political, there's so much that happens at the city level and even on school boards and on the county commissioner that translates into work you do at the legislature. So I really felt like that gave me a real kind of head start on some of my peers.
And what is your proudest moment? Off the top of your head, would you say, this is why I love what I do?
The things that we've been able to do to help people. I get calls. In fact, I got a call I'm working on right now. I get calls every day from people that have children and or adults that are involuntarily committed in some of our hospitals across the state. Today, there's probably over 300 people involuntarily committed in emergency rooms, and about 50 of those are going to be children. I talked to a hospital yesterday that has a 9-year-old that's been in that hospital for over 100 days
Oh my goodness.
in the emergency room. We can't do that. We need to get, if they do have to go to the emergency room for a particular injury or something, but we need to get them into facilities that can help them, because in the hospital, they can help their physical health, but there's not a lot they can do for their mental health.
What do you think is going to happen with all of these young people and older people who suffered in the devastation from Helene, and they're going to need some mental counseling?
Secretary Kinsley and I have been out there, and we're actually going to be there today, but some other things came up that both of us needed to take care of. I had to go to a facility and meet, and then wanted to be here with you. But we will be back out there next week. And the legislature just appropriated $25 million just for that area to help deal with the mental health. When I was out there 2 weeks ago, Secretary Kinsley and I visited shelters and supply facilities, health departments. We just visited all over the place, and we went to one of the FEMA centers. It had just been set up and was opening, and just looking at the people, they're really depressed. They're really, when people, Margaret, how people sit waiting in a line, they'll be looking at their phone. These people weren't even doing that. They were just sitting there looking like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. So I'm really concerned about mental health, especially depression and the long-term effects, because this is not going to be over with in a few weeks or a few months. This isn't like just cutting some trees down and you're fine. The estimate is that up to 40% of all the homes and businesses damaged and or destroyed will never be rebuilt. And when you think about that area and what it's going to do to it, it's pretty devastating. I was talking to one of my peers up there this week, and they said that one of the things is a lot of the people that work in the service industries have left to go work somewhere else because they have to make a living, and so they're going to Charlotte and other places that were not in the affected area so that they can work, and they'll probably never go back.
And that's terrible for the economy and for the people.
Yes, ma'am.
Because when you think about the need for mental health, there are people who, just everyday people, we need mental health. A lot of people are embarrassed. They don't want to tell anybody, I do need mental health, but that's very important. A lot of times insurance does not cover that. So I'm glad to hear you say you're getting funds to help with all of those people. Probably everybody who suffered anything or even experienced that bad disaster will need eventually some mental health.
Margaret, everybody will need mental health services sometime in their life. Everybody loses a loved one. Everybody goes through a traumatic experience. Everybody sometime in their life. And when I'm out talking, Secretary Kinsley and I have done 14 town halls across the state talking about mental health. And I always talk about mind, body, and spirit. And I think those three are just so important. And as a Christian, I really think we need to talk more about our faith, because I think our faith really helps us through those periods of time when we are facing depression or just a terrible situation in our lives.
I know there are a lot of people who feel that you should not address church and state or political stuff, but it all goes hand in hand.
I disagree. I've had people ask me, say, well, we know you're a Christian, and how do you divide this? And I said, you don't divide it. If my Christian faith and beliefs don't affect everything I do as a legislator, they don't need me up there.
No, you're in the wrong place.
That's right.
Exactly. Now, you said you are working on one of the committees with the Department of Corrections.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you see long term as a way to get some of the people from behind bars and back into population so that they can get jobs and maybe lead a life, be a father, be a mother to their children?
I'm so glad you asked me that question. I just about a month ago went on death row at Central Prison to interview 3 death row inmates, and I'm going to be writing a paper up about it because it changed me. I think education is the number one thing that we can do to help people not end up in our correction system or even in the judicial system. All 3 of these people that I interviewed, their common thing was their Their biological father was not involved in the family. 2 of them didn't even know their biological father. Limited education, and they started on alcohol and marijuana at 12 and 13. We're working on a program right now in Harnett County where I want to actually take Campbell University in Fayetteville State and partner them and do a university inside of the prison so that we get a 4-year degree for these folks and we can get every one of them a job when they get out. And the statistics show that if someone gets an undergraduate degree while they're in college, there's only a 7% chance of them ever going back to prison. If they get a master's degree, we haven't had anybody ever go back to prison that got a master's. So I tell them, we just need to get everybody a master's degree and nobody will go back to jail.
Before my husband retired from the Department of Corrections, he was at Harnett for a long time, and they had the Shell University program there where a lot of the young men in prison got a 4-year degree. And I would look at their faces on the day of graduation. And I told my husband, I said, if they had been out here in the street, they probably would not have gotten this far. They have gotten this far now, and they are not going to want to turn back.
No. After you get an education and see all the options you have, I think it changes. In the Bible, it talks about a new creation, and we did a graduation with Campbell recently down in Scotland County, and those 13 young men, they were a new creation.
Fantastic. And I know our time is about up, but you're such an interesting guest to have on my program. You'll have to come back and do this again.
Well, when you invite me, I will come.
Okay. Well, are there any parting words that you would like to leave to our listeners?
I would. I'd like to tell everybody, and I'm not going to talk about voting, who to vote for, but I'm going to tell everybody, everyone needs to get out and vote. And I want to challenge Christians. We estimate that 400,000 Christians will not vote in the state of North Carolina this year. And if you're listening to me and you're involved in a church or you proclaim that you're a Christian, I think it's your duty, and I think it says so in the Bible, to be involved. We are not Christians. We're not of this world, but we live in this world. And I think our civic duty is to go and support candidates of like mind and encourage people. But people go vote, pray, and pray for everything that's going on. I don't like a lot of the things that are being said and done. I don't like a lot of the things that are on the news and the ads that are running. But I think we only change that by modeling good behavior of civility and statesmanship. And that's what I hope I always model, is civility and statesmanship.
And I think our children will watch us. They learn from us.
Little mirrors.
Yeah, and they are watching all of this process that's going on, and it will even have them deciding down the road, should I vote or should I not vote? And I think some kids will say, Mom and Dad didn't vote, so I'm not going to vote. But then you've got this other 45% over here that said, my mom said you're always supposed to vote.
I'm with Mom.
I'm with those.
Mom. Always vote. I've never missed an election. I don't ever, since I was 18 years old.
18 years
I've never, I think you don't miss elections.
My dad was not an educated person, but he worked out there every time a political time came around. And as soon as we were old enough to go register, he made sure we went to register. And sometimes I think we have to tell our children, that's part of you being a citizen. And that's part of your civil rights. You need to register and vote.
Everybody to vote.
Everybody needs to vote.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sure you already voted. Are you one of those people who wait for election day?
I would love to wait and vote on election day, but I learned a long time ago, I'm in so many places on election day. I have like 23 or 24 places I have to go. So I start at 4:30 in the morning and I get out and go.
And that's exactly what I think. And besides, something may happen and you can't get to the post. So I would rather go that last day. Yep. Well, again, we want to say thank you so much for sharing with us today. And I will have you back to come and talk with us about some of the great things you're going to be doing in the state Senate.
Have me back after the election, and before we start back into session, I'll tell you some of the things I'm going to be working on next year. I think they're real exciting.
I think that's a good thing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Hi, I'm Jim Burgin, and I approve this message. I got it?